Hi there. Welcome in today to Sir Camo Plays Modded series, and we're going to touch into some RTS today. One of the old classics, Empire at War, Forces of Corruption. There's a bunch of mods here that we'll be able to dive into in the space battle side of things, as these mods are huge, actually. If you're unfamiliar, they're a huge part of the Star Wars modding scene that keeps things alive for gamers like me who enjoy Star Wars, enjoy RTS, enjoy that tactical battle in space especially. I find a lot of things like Stellaris or what's another one? Rebellion of a Solar Empire. It is Sins of a Solar Empire. Rebellion. Excuse me. Sins of a Solar Empire is one of those that I did try to get into after Empire at War, and it just doesn't have the same appeal as the mechanics that they had for this game back then, and it's something that people have voiced a little bit of concern for, if this will ever see another side of RTS, in the modern day. And I do think that there's a good chance that we could see it come back. With the support that we've had over the years, there's a ton of fans that want these mechanics and want these types of things to be improved upon. So I think there's a really good chance in the next 5 years here we could even see another Star Wars RTS really shine its light into the scenes again. Regardless of that, I want to dive in and take you guys in, for those especially less familiar with the game itself, into the top 10 mods that I wanted to give a showcase today, just looking on the market and what was popular. So there are a bunch of other mods there. I actually have 3. Empire at War Remake number 4 is one of those that you'll hear a lot about. That one was really well made. I know 3.0 was one that was well received as well. 5.0 is another one out right now, but that is more or less garbage comparatively to the others. Their mod team had some sort of split up, and there's just some drama there in modding world. But things like that happen. Things like that happen, and we just have to move forward and try to find something better, right? So the Age of Legends. This is another mod that we are not going to dive into today. You're going to see one in here in the list that is very similar to that. For those unfamiliar, Yodenmod and the Age of Legends have been compared as the 2 biggest mods, and they are different eras in Star Wars. But when it truly comes to the largest mod out there right now, unit-wise, the Age of Legends is the largest available. So I implore you to go check it out on your own time. It's a lot of fun. The Yuuzhan Vong is in there if you're familiar with that lore and the true Star Wars lore. But we'll go ahead and move into our third and final non-used overhaul in this, and that is Absolute Chaos. This is one I haven't actually tried myself, and I don't really have much to say on it other than it's supposed to be a bigger, absolute chaotic experience in the battle side of things. So hopefully, those can inspire you to maybe take to the modding scene and kind of explore yourself. I don't want to reveal everything to you, but I do think that this may cause you some excitement and inspire you to move forward in your journey as a modder. Now let's go in today into our presentation here, and let's dive in and see which mods do what. So, Awakening of the Rebellion, you'll see here is a really, really unique one in the fact that they push all of the same mechanics that the first game pushed, but they try to update it, and they try to incorporate different factions into it, like the Hutts. There's minor factions in all of these, and there is typically a campaign attached to every single one of these overalls. But for sake of time and for sake of allowing you to experience some parts of these games as well, I didn't really want to dive into that. I found it kind of to be a waste of time as these are always changing. There's massive amounts of changes from vanilla that are done with almost every single mod. So really it's just coming down to your experience, the time you want to spend, and what you really want to get out of your experience. There is an experience for everyone out there, which is the best thing about Empire at War that I really love and value. But Awakening of the Rebellion is one that is proven to be a more popular choice for many, especially because it's not as complicated to approach, since it harbors the same kind of storyline as, you know, Star Wars we all know and love. So that's a good thing to note. Now, the quality of life features in this one, there's quite a few changes that they do to the rosters and the UI that I find is subtle, but very, very rewarding in the sense of how you interact with your factions. Now, the lore, I think they do a good job here. I only put 4 because I don't really know if they've completely reworked the lore and finalized the lore to the point that they're hoping. These overhauls are so big. Lore is one of those things where I know a lot of Star Wars, but I don't want to steer you wrong and say that they're a 5-star lore experience unless I know for certain that they've sunk that much into it. And I would say it's arguably a 5, but for sake of continuity and being fair, I want to put a 4 here. So additional features with Awakening of the Rebellion, I would say, are mostly campaign present, so it's hard to assess that from the space battles, but there are a lot of UI changes, like I said, and updates and graphical changes that they do that really, really bring life, and that's going to be across number 1 through 4 here. These are actually all from the same creator, and they've been working on these games for close to almost 20 years here. So it's really impressive what they've dedicated towards the community, and I really commend them. And I believe Corey is the person who has pushed this for a long time, and I really appreciate your work, Corey, as a longtime fan. I hope that you're able to see this video and appreciate the community out there that supports your projects as they're great projects. Now, factions and ships, again, same thing. These mods are just loaded 1 through 4 with different factions, different ships. They really do a good job to try to keep things balanced in these, and I commend them on that. So would I recommend this? I would say yes. Our next experience here is going to be Fall of the Republic, which is taking place in the time of the Clone Wars. Now, this mod is special in the fact that it really dives into the mass production side of the CIS. So it's really hard to fight the CIS, as they will come at you with a lot of units. They will come at you with a lot of drone fighters, and it just feels intense. If you like that real fast-paced gameplay, you're probably going to like this one a little bit better than Awakening of the Rebellion or Thrawn's Revenge. I will say Thrawn's is pretty fast too, but there's a lot more capital ship play going on and involved, I'd say, with Thrawn's in general, that you will see in the videos coming up. But the quality of life features here, I'd say, really sell what Fall of the Republic's about. I think it has a good sense of balance between audio, between campaign features, heroes, faction diversity, and then there's always mercenaries for the factions too that you can pick up. You know, different buildings that give you different units, and when it comes to that, they just have a great selection. It's one of my favorite mods. It's my favorite Clone Wars mod, and I just always end up coming back to this one. The lore here, 5-star for me. I really do think it's deserved that after the amount of time they put into balancing the campaign experience. It just feels really good to play. This is a wonderful Clone Wars conversion, and I really commend the team for working on it, and I hope that you have a chance to try it yourself. Now, our third game here is Thrawn's Revenge. Thrawn's is probably one of the most popularly known mods for its odd time period. Thrawn is obviously one of the admirals in the Emperor's Empire, and he has a huge storyline within the campaign here. Now, there's a bunch of remnant factions involved. There's the corporate sector that's involved, and you just have a plethora of options when it comes to your faction choice, your ship choice. There's no other mod like it. It really is uncomparable to others, other than the 1 through 4 mods that are from the same creator, of course. But as far as it goes, this is probably, I'd argue, the largest conversion out of all of them, since it really uses mostly custom models for almost everything. It's really impressive. Now, is it lore friendly? Yes. I think they do a wonderful job selecting the different regions that you start off of. And we go off a lot of legends for these things, and they tie legends in with the different heroes that you're able to present on the battlefield. And the Yuuzhan Vong War, I believe, is also a part of one of the eras that is coming to Thrawn's Revenge. I could be mistaken there. I know that Yuuzhan Vong is one of those things that just comes up in discussion with all these late term mods. So, but I do believe the intent is to get the Yuuzhan Vong era in there, as well as the ones that they have, and it fully presents you a full Star Wars campaign after the Emperor falls, which I love it. And I commend Corey for putting in this hard work, and with him and his team, and dedicating that time and bringing all these great looking models that we see in the battlefield. The pace here is mostly steady as well, so you don't get bored. There's a bunch of ship options, a bunch of ways to play. If you're a more turtley player, there is actually options for you, since a lot of the ships can vary with short range or long range. So it's just all about experimenting, getting out there, and having fun. So this is a great mod for someone looking for a wonderful campaign. Now, the fourth one here, Revan's Revenge, is our newest entry in Corey's series of mods. This one is actually the one. Yeah, this is technically the one mod I tried that I haven't tried before of his, and I really enjoyed it. I think that it has good potential. Right now it's really early, so there's still a lot of ships and features, I'm sure. Campaign, I can't tell you much about. I will say that it does seem like the kind of experience that you have to get used to. There's a lot of different kinds of ships, different kinds of armor and stats going on, so it may be a little different than the Star Wars you're used to, as in this case it's quote unquote the primitive Star Wars when it comes to ship warfare. So I do like the variation of that, and keeping things on your toes. It is a bit faster paced, since you have factions like Sith that can just pump out units and really overwhelm you quick. So you really have to plan your fleets, and that's part of the best thing about Empire at War that I love is fleet command, making the balance right, and not overwhelming yourself with too many fighters around your perimeter if you don't have enough cruisers or just battlements to defend yourself. So being patient, I think, is the best way to play this one. Take your time, learn the ships, learn the factions. Just try to click through, try to experiment, see what works best for you, and I would definitely recommend it. Any of Corey's mods I would absolutely recommend. Now the next one in our series is Yodenmod. This one is not going to be like any of the others. Yoden stands by itself in a lot of different regards, but I think the main thing is it's extreme unbalance. There is never a match in Yoden that you're going to feel is fair. It is always going to throw you off a little bit. There's always going to be something that just slaps you. You're just getting hammered by, and sometimes you're just not going to find a great counter at that moment. There really isn't a direct counter for certain situations because it wasn't made to be like that. Yoden is simply a sandbox experience. You go in, you have fun mixing and matching different factions together, and maybe you find something that you really enjoy doing, or two factions you really enjoy facing off, and that's just something that you try to get better with. But I would say generally you're going to come here to just kind of goof around. Now, lore friendliness and sound effects are low here because Yoden's not necessarily known for its polish either. It's an older mod. It has yet to be updated for, I think, 4 years here. So it's probably past its heyday of time where it ruled in the main mods. The Age of Legends is a more modernized approach to this style, but again, it's in a different era of Star Wars, so you're going to find different factions that are not present in this one, and you're going to find different factions in here, like the First Order, that are just not present in almost anything else. So there's really neat things there to consider, and at the very least, you can come check out the really cool ship varieties. I mean, I believe even one of these you can get Starkiller Base on the map. I mean, there's some absurd things you can do. I would implore you to check it out and give it a chance. You might really find that it's something you enjoy, but if you're looking for a campaign experience or a balanced experience, you got to find something else. It's just is not going to cut it for you, and I believe there isn't even a campaign to try with Yoden. Now, Phoenix Rising is one that's been around for a while. A lot of the hardcore Awakening of the Rebellion players probably know about it due to its really good campaign for the Rebellion. Now, it's Starfighter focused. There's a heavy push towards boosting the strength of your Starfighter squadrons, as I believe it increases both their size, damage, and generally their squad numbers to be a little bit more considerable for the battlefield at hand. Why do I like this mod? I think it's different in the fact that it makes you focus on different elements of the battlefield. There's different ways to build things, different ways to get income. There's a lot of varied features, which you'll see in the gameplay as well. Now, it's something that I feel is a little bit more lore friendly in the fact that starships, starfighters in Star Wars are powerful. You know, they can take down capital ships and do various things if you get skilled pilots in there. And really, the Rebellion in lore is built off of trying to find these pilots, and they're limited, and you know, you want your squads to be effective, and I think that's one of the things that really helps you feel. Now, the quality of life features, I had to mark it down here, and the sound effects, due to just a little bit of lacking. You know, I don't agree with necessarily not having hard points on the capital ships. I don't understand why they chose to do that for this, but it's the kind of reimagining they wanted to take it in the direction of, so I respect it at the same time. The additional features section is boosted because they have a wonderful reimagining of the lasers going on in the battlefields and the effects. The downside is if you don't have a strong rig, you're going to have a lot of frame lag. And even if you do, there's still frame lag present due to how many particles are present. It's still a lot of fun. I recommend it, but just be aware of those things. And, you know, maybe the campaign is something you'd like to try just because those things are a little less spammed. You know, you have a little bit more control on your battle size. So I would give it a go and see if it's something you enjoy, as Phoenix Rising has had a lot of work from its team, and it's something that I always come back to and I hear a lot of talk on. Now, Rise of the Crime Lords is our next mod here, which its lore friendliness is pretty good. I'd say the best part about it that I like is the way it designs decals and reimagines some ships to be present in those factions. You'll see, you know, old Clone War era ships in the Hutt Cartel, for instance, and maybe you'll see Black Sun have some interesting characters that can go in the front lines and do some stealth runs or what have you. There's a bunch of options, and it's one of those that you're just gonna have to dig into. There's so much lore involved with this one on the mercenary side that most of it's gonna be coming from legends or those obscure places in Star Wars that only dedicated fans are really gonna know and implement into this experience for you. So I would recommend it. I think the balance is pretty good. You know, it felt pretty good when we were doing a match together, Banana and I I can't really complain about how it made me feel at the end. I felt pretty satisfied. The sound effects, you know, a little bit lacking. I feel like there could be a little improvement there with some of the mercenaries that we do have in other games that are present, but you know, it's a mod. It's to be expected with these kinds of things, and that's really just a nitpick, if anything. And I would give it a go again any day, as it feels like it's fun to experiment with. Now, Rise of the Mandalorians is another one that is taking place after the Emperor is passed. So this is mostly to do with the Mandalorians' involvement against the Imperial Remnant and the New Republic. I believe there's a campaign to this one that really does give you that feel of, you know, rising the Mandalorian faction up, and I think they do a good job on the various factions here. They don't feel too overly congested. They also focus heavily on the smaller ship combat, so your smaller ships are going to hit pretty hard. Your capital ships are going to be less available in high capacity, so you're going to have to take care of your ships. You're going to have to really strategize on using your small ships effectively without losing them. So reserve tactics is the game pace, I would say. It almost feels a bit more like playing chess on this one than any of the others, which is a really cool, unique feature to it, which is why the quality of life features higher. Now, lore friendliness, I think that speaks for itself with the quality of life explanation. I think they just focused on the right aspects of keeping a balance in the way that the small arms pick up some of that slack that the capital ships can't handle in a lot of the other overhauls cases. And you know, I want you to understand, for some of the new players, that's what ends up happening in a lot of these matches is you'll get different ships that carry starfighters, and then you'll get those squadrons that come off, and that's free population essentially of starfighters. You'll end up with a mass of 30 or 40 starfighter units easily in some matches that, you know, it just overwhelms, it swarms, it's a spam fest, and it really comes down to whose player economy is stronger than the other, and who has the jump, and who's in the right place at the right time. And we're talking skirmish side of things, but you know, it's something to keep considered in your mind that you know, it's a different type of space combat. I can't stress that enough. You're not going to need 30, 40 starfighters to accomplish what you're hoping to accomplish. Maybe that's taking down a space station or a spaceship individually. But the more and more you see the gameplay on it and you experience it yourself, I'm sure you'll start getting that feel of what works best and what factions are really the best for holding the line, if that's the kind of tactics you're looking for. So I would say, yeah, I'd recommend this, but it's tricky, and you know, it requires a little bit of a slower build, and your matches are going to slow down a little bit, but your time to kill is going to be phenomenal and quick. So it's both slow but deceiving. Now, the Rise of Palpatine is our 9th mod in the list here. This is our last space-oriented one. The last one in the list, we'll kind of have to explain what happened here, but on this one, you know, you have a heavy focus on the Clone Wars, heavy focus on that lore aspect to it. I love this one in the fact that it adds sound effects from the Clone Wars show, as it makes your space battles feel alive. It makes the combat feel very situationally harsh and and in your face aggressive when you're getting bombed and you have ships that are about to go down, and you're hearing these horns blare off and alarms blare off, that you're trying to understand where these are coming from and what factions coming in at you. And it's a very lively experience that makes you want to play. It makes you want to engage. So for that, I really give them a huge kudo there. And that of course improves the quality of life and everything around it. The faction ship options are pretty good. They do have some alternative income options for you to utilize here, as well as allowing you to build various buildings that provide different units to your faction. Now, this is also one that I would say is balanced, but you're gonna have a different kind of experience here as well. It's not your typical building situation, and you may find that slowing you down once you get into certain maps or certain battle positions where, hey, I need to supply myself with enough munitions here or enough vehicles here before I directly clash their line. Maybe you need a stealth force or something to go in and try to hit them from the sides. Because I'll tell you, even as playing as a Republic, CIS have so many good ship options in this one that you're going to find yourself really on the back foot if you aren't careful and you're too overly aggressive and overextend. So, is it a fun experience? Absolutely. I'd largely recommend this one, and I'd say just keep an open mind on how you play it, and you shouldn't feel like you went wrong anywhere, as it's a really quality experience. Now our 10th one here, Star Wars Battlefront Commander 1.05 V2. This is one that's been out for a long time. It's very popular. It's one that I hadn't played before. We wanted to go in, as the person I was playing with, Banana, had remembered space experience in this one. Now, it looks like, unfortunately, there's no space for Skirmish. There may be a space option with AI, but I know as far as human to human battles, you can't do space. It's very geared towards land, unfortunately. But this does not mean we're saying space battles don't exist for this one. We're just not necessarily sure the extent of how it exists. But in this case, we wanted to compare skirmish space battles together with one another and how they really balance out, how they feel and interact. So on this one, you're going to have to do some experimenting. Maybe if we get enough love on this video, we'll come out and do some land battle comparisons. Land battles are their own whole cup of tea that's different. And, we had to really prep that out and make some time for those. But if that's something you guys would like to see and you'd like us to keep comparing and maybe even dive into some of the individual campaigns, that's absolutely an option that we'd consider on this channel. So just speak up, comment, like the video if you can, and we will keep in touch in this community on how to play Empire at War mods. How we enjoy them and how the community surrounding them is changing. There's always updates, there's always tournaments and stuff out there that people throw on to keep having fun with the game. So I challenge you to just keep an open mind and keep exploring your options out there, as there's very many players that love this and respect the game mechanics, and it's worth jumping back into all the time. So I'm sure you will find more players up for joining you in this adventure if you like that. And there are multiplayer campaign options for those who don't know, which is an awesome option for those bored and looking for a new experience. Empire at War, Forces of Corruption is really, really cheap. It's usually under $5 on some sites if you look for Steam key sites. Now, I would highly recommend this as an RTS experience to begin with, if you are new to RTS genre in general. This is one of the first RTSs I personally started with, and I love it. I've always found it to be both challenging, presentable, and refinable. By refinable, I mean that we're able to discover various ways of changing it with how open the engine is for those changes. And I think that makes the modding in this community extremely strong and extremely fun to be a part of. I hope this video can help you in discovering what you are hoping to find within this mod that you choose to go into. This has been Sir Camo Plays Modded, and we hope to see you next time, as our next video coming here soon should be one on Manor Lords. Thanks again.